group within the conservative sphere. Conservatives have prided themselves as a group on caring about human trafficking, on caring about people being exploited. And it's like when it comes to this type of example, which is completely bizarre to me, even to this day, that people can hear words coming straight out of Andrew Tate's mouth and they see nothing wrong. So muchachos y muchachas, we've talked about this a little bit on this channel. I haven't touched the subject of Andrew and Tristan Tate in a while because they have actually been pretty quiet. They've gone under the radar. Who knows what legal lawfare there are, but as far as what I do know is that they are still under the Romanian version of judicial control. But with that being said, this topic is sort of resurfacing. And, I have insinuated at one point that I opined that there was something shady going on in the conservative sphere that covered so much for the Tate brothers. There were some people in Trump's cabinet, not necessarily that Trump knew about what was going on, but that were covering, I know Richard Grenell and Roger Stone and, who else? Paul Ingracia, who is no longer in the running to be, I think he was like a liaison between the DHS or the DOJ, something like that. But anyway, there was a lot of people in the conservative bubble that were either admirers, enthusiasts, or straight up friends with the Tate brothers. In fact, Matt Gaetz is another person, and he was it, like sickly when Matt Gaetz was almost chosen to be or almost installed as the AG. So glad that did not happen. Now, the conservative sphere in the influencer side, like there's still a lot of people that did not touch the subject of Andrew Tate. It kind of coincides and parallels with this Candace Owens type stuff. Weirdly, a lot of the same influencers, they shield the Tates, like, or they were shielding the Tates. Russell Brand, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. So with all that being said, there's still a little pattern there, and I think that requires a little bit more articulation, but I want to focus in on this particular example today. Now, Tucker Carlson interviewed the Tate brothers back in 2023, and if you saw a little part of that interview, you saw that Tucker Carlson didn't press back. He didn't push back on anything that Andrew Tate said. It's kind of like the same thing we saw recently with Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, he just let it roll off his tongue that he was a big fan of Stalin, and Tucker Carlson had nothing to say about that. That's nothing to push back on that. Tucker Carlson's behavior has just been odd to me lately, and I would consider him part of the woke right. He's very anti-Israel, anti-Jewish people, or so that's how I convey his messaging. And I just see them as this one big rat pack. Like there's some agenda there. And recently, this is just a side note, he made news, he made headlines that it was apparently a patriotic thing for him to do to buy a piece of real estate in Qatar, and it was a long running understanding or joke at the very least that he was somehow affiliated with Qatar. Anyway, so Tucker Carlson, this is completely I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but Tucker Carlson recently shared screenshots of text messages from. So basically, the meat and potatoes are at the bottom of the message, and if you guys want to pause this and read the entirety of the text message, you're more than welcome to. But I'm just going to get to the meat and potatoes of it. It says the interview has drawn more than 112 million views. You spent much of the interview with Andrew discussing your shared beliefs, including what you see as a left-wing war on masculinity. You didn't press Andrew on his porn operation or previous comments about exploiting women. I'm going to go through a video with you guys because you're going to see verbatim that a lot of these things that Andrew Tate says, it damns himself. And this is self-produced content. You misrepresented the criminal allegations in Romania, saying they involved no sex crimes or violence, and the trafficking charges boiled down. And The next text message basically says that, and again, you can pause this if you want to read it all in its entirety, but basically, I'm going to summarize it. That Tucker Carlson has not changed on his sentiments on the Tate brothers, basically that he's friendly, and that if he got the indictment wrong, he's sorry about it. And basically, this reporter is asking for further comment. And he comments something snarky, as if it's like this long drawn conspiracy that she's trying to illustrate when it's not. It's very straightforward. Now, this is the stuff that I am talking about with the woke right. And there's some sort of cover. There's some sort of cover that they have on the Tate brothers, not not at least holding them accountable for the things that they have said in the past, for the actual allegations on the indictment. And I find that very troubling. Now, this is a group within the conservative sphere. Conservatives have prided themselves as a group on caring about human trafficking, on caring about people being exploited. And it's like, when it comes to this type of example, which is completely bizarre to me, even to this day, that people can hear words coming straight out of Andrew Tate's mouth and they see nothing wrong. So I'm just going to play this clip here.
You're not actually accused of
Correct.
rape,
Correct.
selling anyone,
Correct.
pimping.
Correct.
They face charges which include human trafficking, rape, and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women.
OnlyFans is the best hustle in the world.
Are they accusing you of using violence or?
No. They're accusing me of using the
Physical
Loverboy
violence.
method,
It's right
coercing
there.
them by being nice.
I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You fuck the girl. After you fuck the girl, you do the PhD test.
So yeah, on CobraTate.com I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is a pimp and hose degree that I'm
Clever.
and
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how
You're not actually accused of
Correct.
rape,
Correct.
selling anyone,
Correct.
pimping.
Correct.
They face charges which include human trafficking, rape, and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women.
OnlyFans is the best hustle in the world.
Are they accusing you of using violence or?
No.
It says right
They're
there in the
accusing me of using the
indictment.
Loverboy method, coercing them by being nice.
That's
I
not
don't
what the Loverboy meant.
mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You fuck the girl. After you fuck the girl, you do the PhD test.
So yeah, on CobraTate.com I have my PhD program, and that is PhD.
And that is textbook Loverboy method. That is, that is textbook Loverboy method. This is what he instructed, in that video. We're going to just be very minimum here, but this is what he was talking about in the video, that you shouldn't mention webcam right there and then with the girl that you're intentional on, basically recruiting in to do that type of work, that you should continue the relationship as is, which is what it's causing the victim or the girl or the woman to think that they're in a legitimate relationship and that this is a legitimate thing. And then once what happens is they get them bonded, bonded to a relationship, they then use a excuse like, if you really love me, you'll do this for me, or, let's make money together. Let's build a future. These are just examples, but this is very common in the human trafficking world. This is what gets these, victims swindled into that sort of scenario. So for him to say, or for Tucker to completely gloss over that as if it's not human trafficking, Tucker Carlson, at minimum, in my personal opinion, didn't do any research, or his team didn't do any research. At minimum.
PhD is a pimp and hose degree that I'm
Clever.
and
Clever.
that teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me.
And you're always working. Why don't you work for me so we spend more time together? Work for you doing what? So you'll have a webcam business. Oh, I don't want to do that. So, okay, I know you don't want to do that, but listen. Come, let's have a meeting. Let's just talk about it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Fine. But let me explain it to you properly. In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear from a girl. And this is where your bottom bitch has to be trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl.
Because that's what I did. That was my MO, was find girls, make them love me, and make them work for me.
This girl's like, okay, well, I'll try it. Put both girls on camera together the first day, so the new girl can sit there and just sit with the other girl and get drunk. Give him a bottle of vodka.
First night that I worked for him, Andrew bought me like 5 bottles of wine. So I got completely drunk because I'd never done webcam work. So I was very, very nervous.
And that's how I got rich. So that teaches everything I know from start to finish about not only getting girls, not only obtaining them, but retaining them. Because that's a completely different game as well.
And over time, I just built up this big little empire of webcam girls. At one point, I had 4 locations, 75 girls working for me. I'd take a...
I mean, you guys get it. I mean, there's an entire 3 more minutes to this video, but you guys get it. Tucker Carlson completely misrepresented what the Tate brothers had been accused of, had been indicted on. Base minimum, Andrew Tate, the very subject that he interviewed, and that's what makes this whole thing dishonest. And I guess like this is just another thing to illustrate, you know, about this entire conservative movement right now at this very moment, that there are people, there are influencers, people who have high follower platforms. They have a lot of listeners that, you know, they basically are influencing the way that they think. They're influencing people on other figures, sanitizing them. And that's troubling to me. That's troubling to my spirit that people are creating these idols of people who have horrible behavior, say horrible things, do horrible things, and it's normalized, you know. And this is what you have to be I guess this is what you have to be assiduous about in this conservative movement. If you do call yourself conservative, this is the very thing. These are the fruits that are being shown after all these warnings that people just don't want to listen to. These figures are, in my personal opinion, they're not good. They're not exemplifying good behavior. They're not exemplifying good narratives. And in my personal opinion, I feel like they are representative of other entities' agendas. You know, Andrew Tate to me is like, it's a bizarre world. I think that there's something going on. I just don't know, and I can't confirm anything, of course. But just the contextual clues are all of the big influencers like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, as you can see, just running cover for him. And all these other, you know, Benny Johnson did a sanitized interview with Andrew Tate. Alina Habba, the, you know, she was in Trump's cabinet as well. You know, it's like all these people. And I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? And then Andrew Tate and his brother were, you know, somehow okayed to travel internationally. They came to the United States, and as soon as there was like a case that was started in Florida, they left coincidentally. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, there's stuff like that. There's good people out there that will do something like the Florida, you know, I believe it was the AG that launched an investigation. But then there's other people that I just question, like, what are you doing? You know? So again, these interests seem aligned with all these other influencers, and they seem to run cover and sanitize and normalize certain things. And this is just another illustration of that. So with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you seen Tucker Carlson's interview with Andrew Tate? Have you seen this clip before of, you know, basically some contradicting issues, you know, like him misrepresenting the indictment and not clearly defining the indictment in Romania? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will catch you in the next video.